Good evening. Today we will be discussing Chapter 2, The Economic Problem, Scarcity, and Choice. By the end of this presentation, students should be able to describe what the economic problem is, understand the different methods within economics, and understands concepts like comparative advantage and opportunity costs. Section 1, The Economic Problem. What is the economic problem? Well, first, let's define what economics is. Economics is known as the study of the different processes in which societies form systems in order to make use of what previous generations have left for us. Producers are what keep economies afloat. They are the individuals that take resources and form them into outputs, also known as goods and services. Examples of producers include governments, firms, or households. All societies must solve these three important problems. What is getting produced? How is it produced? Who gets what is produced? These questions make up the economic problem. Section 2. Opportunity cost and comparative versus absolute advantage. The issue of distribution, cooperation, and specialization exists because of resources being scarce. Using resources to produce a certain good implies that those same resources are not being used to produce another type of good. This concept is known as opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is ultimately benefits being lost or received by selecting or not selecting a particular good to produce. Some producers are able to create a good for a lower opportunity cost than others who may sell the same good, resulting in them bringing in more money. This concept is known as comparative advantage, whereas absolute advantage is the ability for producers to produce a higher quantity of goods than its competitors. On the next slide, we can see two examples of comparative versus absolute advantage. The first slide illustrates comparative advantage. We can see that the Philippines has the comparative advantage because they have the lower opportunity cost. Due to them only using 2 tons of coal for every 6 bales of wheat they produce, they have the lower opportunity cost rather than Australia, who gives up 1 ton of coal for every 1 bale of wheat. From this first example, we can understand that the producer with the lower opportunity cost has the comparative advantage. The second example illustrates absolute advantage. On the left side, we see a woman with a brown cow who produces 2 cartons of milk and 4 pieces of cheese. However, on the right side, we see a man with a white cow who produces 4 cartons of milk and 1 piece of cheese. In terms of milk, the man on the right side would have the absolute advantage because he has the ability to produce more milk than the woman on the left side. However, in terms of cheese, the woman on the left side would have the absolute advantage because she can produce more quantity of cheese than the man on the left side. Section 3. Production Possibility Frontier. A production possibility frontier, also known as PPF, is a graph that displays all the combinations of goods and services that can be produced if all resources are used efficiently. It illustrates the important concepts of scarcity, unemployment, inefficiency, increasing opportunity cost, economic growth. Economic growth occurs when society produces more by acquiring more resources. A PPF graph is very essential in tracking economic growth. In the next slide, we see an example of a PPF graph. The PPF graph illustrates what number of production is efficient to make solid income, what number of production is inefficient to make no income or decline in income, and what number of production is impossible for the resources that the company or producers may have. Section 4. The multiple economic systems. There are a variety of different economic systems within each government. The first I will be discussing is command economy. This is when a central authority directly or indirectly sets output targets, incomes, and prices. Laissez-faire economy is when individuals independently pursue their own self-interest without any main direction, ultimately determining all basic economic outcomes. Market economy is when buyers and sellers interact to exchange with each other. Sometimes this occurs face-to-face, other times it may happen through long distance or over technological devices. However, it should not be confused that all economies are an integration of each economy type. There is not one economy that consists of just one type. They are all integrated within another. The greatest debates in economics are centered around the tensions of free, unregulated markets and the want for government involvement in economy. Free markets produce what people want, and competition forces firms to adopt efficient production techniques. However, the need for government guidance arises because the free market is run down with inefficiencies and an unequal distribution of income. It also goes through regular periods of inflation and unemployment, which is not ideal. The 3 takeaways students should have from this lesson is what gets produced, how is it produced, and who gets what is produced. These 3 questions make up the economic problem. Any individual or firm looking to produce goods must answer and solve these questions first before they produce their goods. Number 2. Though there are multiple systems of economy, no economy is simply made up of one system. Every system contains a mix of the different systems or methods of economics. Number 3. Opportunity cost is essentially the potential benefits an individual or firm misses out on when choosing to produce one alternative over the other. Comparative advantage is when one producer is able to produce the same good for a lower opportunity cost than its competitors. We must also remember that absolute advantage is when the producer is able to produce a higher quantity of the same product as their competitors. Thank you.